Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial of uConstruct, and this time I'm going to talk about Bolt. So a lot of people have requested me to do a tutorial about how to implement a networking library into uConstruct. So I chose Bolt because Bolt is really not being actively developed at the moment. I mean it is, but the code isn't really being changed too much. And Forge is actually really being into active development at the moment, and the code is being changed every day. So I need to really, I really needed to choose a networking library that doesn't change its code every day. It's not a bad thing. So yeah. So let's start this up. So first of all, we have a little setup in here for a demo. We don't have anything special, just a player authoritative model, of course. Nothing too amazing. So let's start this up. First of all, let's go into states and create a state. So for you doesn't really use, for who didn't really use, sorry, Bolt before. State is just a way to synchronize certain properties on a certain entity. So we're gonna create here a new state, call it being a state. I'm gonna create here property of transform so we can synchronize our transform. I'm gonna use the space world because we need to actually synchronize the position as the world space, because as you know the buildings are being parent and childed into the groups, and using local would actually make it be wrongly positioned. Smoothing algorithm is gonna be extrapolation, and let's go to the next one. Next one's gonna be placed on, which is what building are we placed on. Gonna be an entity because all buildings are gonna be entities, and next is gonna be snap 2. So sockets are basically aren't entities. So the only way actually to get them, or the best way to get them, would be by position, and then we can look at our placed on building and see if we can find this snapped on sockets. So choose this as vector 3 in here. Nothing more, and that's it for the state. And now let's go ahead and create for us a new script, call it Bolt building. So the Bolt building is just gonna be a little script in here that's a little component that's going to generate from our base building script, so we can do any modifications we want to the API. Let's generate from, it's actually including here uConstruct and generate from this building. We're gonna create here several things. So the first one will be Bolt entity, I building state, and now we're gonna make a little entity attached method. So what this does is very simple. As we can generate from two different classes, we need to get somehow the callback of attached of the entity. Now there's two ways to do that. One of them is use an enumerator and just check when the entity is attached, which is the less really favored one by me, or create a new script which is gonna call this method when the entity is attached. So I guess I'm gonna go with this approach. And what we're going to do in this method, when it's being attached, just get our components. So entity, and then state equals to entity.getState, our state. Oops. And now here we're going to do the other coding we need. Let's leave it empty for now. Now we need to go ahead and create our attacher script. So Bolt building attacher. This script is going to generate from Bolt. Just give me a second to get the libraries working. 1 second. Let's do bolt.entity behavior. I build state. And now we need to go ahead and generate from attached. That's gonna be the easier way to do that. We can also use send message. Let's go ahead and use send message in this case. Really, doesn't really matter, to be honest. It really doesn't, but yeah. So this doesn't need to be public. So what we need to do in here is do some checks in here. We want to check a few things. You see we have in here two properties. The first one is placed on, and the second one is snap 2. We need to get callback on each one. So state add callback to placed on. Let's do it here, a little thing in here. Just do this. Nothing right now. I'm gonna fill this in a second, and then one at callback snapped to. Make sure we wrote it correctly. Yep, it's really important to make this case sensitive as well. And then again, so we got those two ready, and I wanted to do the next approach. It's gonna be the next method. It's gonna be check for actually try make this an enumerator. I'm gonna explain in a second why we're gonna make this an enumerator. I call this apply data, apply state data, and we're gonna return here just for now. Now, what we need to do is we need to create two booleans. One of them is placed on received, and then the other one is gonna be snap to received. I'm gonna explain in a second what it does. Don't worry, everything will be explained. So yeah, let's start. So basically, one of the things about bolts callbacks is that when they're called, you need to get some kind of a way to identify they're being called. We want to make sure that we're actually calling both of them. I'm gonna make this public. I'm gonna explain in a second why. We want to make sure we get two of them callbacks. We're gonna have two callbacks on each. We're gonna have a callback on each one, so we can know which one when one of them is being changed. And we want to basically wait for two of them to be changed by the server, and when two of them are changed, we can assign our data into our building, and it's just gonna automatically do everything as needed. So one of the things about it is that we need to have a way to wait for all of the other properties to be assigned. So we need to make sure we are actually telling our script when we got this update. So placed on received equals to true, and then snap to received equals to true. And here we can just call start coroutine apply state data. Now this might be weird, but you're gonna see in a second why I did this in an enumerator. And now what I want to do is something like this. We need to have a way to check if placed on is being null. I'm going to give you an example to when it's going to be null. When we actually place in the foundation on the terrain, we are not actually placing it on a building, but on an actual socket. And the socket, which is the terrain, isn't actually a building, so it's going to be null in this case. So what we need to do in here is check if our state dot snap to, actually not snap to, but we're gonna check in here if our state of placed on equals to entity. Now what I'm doing here is I'm checking if the data we received for placed on equals to our entity, and the reason we're doing this is when we're actually gonna apply the data from the events that we're gonna receive on the server, we need to have some kind of a way to identify when this is received. But bolt doesn't give us an actual information when we're assigning the property in the default value. Let's say we have an entity, a property that's going to be an int. Let's say health or something. If the health is 100 and you actually assign it to be 100 again, you're not going to get a callback on that. Alright, because the default value is 100. So we need to have a way to identify when it's being changed. In our case, we're going to assign this to ourselves, so that way we can check if it's actually null or not. And here we're going to check that only if our placed on received equals to true and snap to received equals to true, we're gonna run these methods. Now this dot placed on, let's go ahead and assign our properties of the actual building right now, because we have the ability. So equals to placed on is null. If it is null, then we need to assign null in here, right? But if it isn't null, we're gonna assign placed on. Now it is very important we do that. Actually, we don't even need to do that actually. We need to actually, we actually do need to do that, because we need to get in here the component of this building. And the reason I don't want to do it that way is because if we just choose in here just do placed on is null, we won't be able to get this in here. We won't be able to just do a get component on the null value. Right, that's why we need to do that, so we won't get a null reference. So now we assign the placed on. What we want to do next is if placed on equals to true, actually if placed on isn't equals to null, actually just doing here if placed on is null, then we need to assign the socket. So this dot snap2 equals to placed on dot get socket, actually return socket, sorry, the position we have, which is state dot position dot snap2, and this is null because we aren't looking for a certain building type. We don't actually know the building type, and this should be it. This is the basics of the thing. Looks simple, right? But there's more to it, because let's give you an example in here. This is what we did in the numerator. I'm going to show you now. Let's say we have 3 buildings when we connect to the server. We have building A, building B, and building C. Let's say building B is placed on building A, but the client received building B first. It's not going to have a building to snap to, and this is going to create us duplications of groups, and this is not good. So what I want to do in here is to check several things. Sorry, I want to check in here is okay. If is in place, on is null. So if it is a null, right? Just in here. If it's not null, so we're not doing it for nothing. We're gonna do a loop in here. While placed. Sorry, let's get in here. Simple thing. We need to get this component in here. So target here placed on building. Get this. We need to get several things in here. So we're gonna get while placed on bold building dot placed on received, or isn't placed on building dot snap to receive. So if we didn't assign any of them, then don't actually do it. And then we need another boolean in here, which is going to be another public boolean, finished applying data. This is very important. This is actually very important. Now I want to explain what this does in here. We need to have a way to check if we finished applying data for our building. So we won't be in a situation where we didn't finish apply data, but we're still gonna place on this. So or placed on bold building dot finished applying data. If any of those conditions isn't met, we're gonna have to return you wait for end of frame. So we're gonna retry again until all of the conditions are met. That would be the only way to guarantee that the building is created on the right order. So this is going to be the basics of that, and what we need to do now is let's just go through the code and explain what we've done here. We're calling entity attached, and then we're doing all those. We're making sure that we have both of them enabled in here, right? Then we're doing placed is null. If it's null, sorry, if it's null, right? We're going to do all those kind of things. We're going to make sure we have placed on bold building equals to placed on is null. It's going to check all those kind of things, and then we're going to get the placed on building, sorry. And then we need to check if it is null. If we actually know, if we're actually going to guarantee it is a null, then we're going to make sure we check that until not all of those conditions are met, we're going to wait, and we're going to keep waiting. Only when all of those conditions are met, we're going to apply our data. So this placed on, all of this is met, and then we're going to place the building. Alright, so what we're going to do next, after we've done all of those, we need to assign our new bold building whatnot into our buildings. So let's go into our demo buildings and assign all those. So first of all, change all those building components to bold building. We're gonna have all those. We need to make sure we doesn't really matter right now. Those don't really matter. We need to make them. We need to hide them in the inspector. Still, actually now doesn't really matter, but still. And yeah, there you go. So it's not an inspector anymore. Now we have this. So now we need to add on all of them. The bold building attacher, and that should be it. So let's go ahead and real quick compile initiate a buildings update to make sure all the prefabs data the prefabs are resaved into the database. Go into our main menu and try this out. See how it works. Oh, oops, one sec. We forgot to add an entity for that. Very important. Very important. Add an bolt entity. Now attach to each one the building state. I will do it in a second. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so I'm back. I've basically put all of them, I added each one of the buildings the state, bolt entity, and made sure the state is a building state. Remove the control prediction movement because there's no need for that, because we're not doing any prediction or whatnot. And then just compile prefabs of bolt. Just compile bolt prefabs. Oops, it's in here. And that should be it. Go into our demo and see how this works. So just go ahead and this up. So as you can see, when we build foundation, if I enable gizmos, so we're gonna have the bolt in here. This is actual bolt building. See how it works really well. But this is one thing you need to understand here. This is actually building a normal buildings because we didn't do any changes inside the demo placer. We're actually using the demo script, so we need to change it right now and make sure it works according to bolt methods. So go into our demo script. This is just gonna be a little demo script change. There are other ways to do it. The other way to do it is basically doing here inherit from place building, and then just doing here events and whatnot. But I'm gonna go with the old way, or the best way actually for this method in here. So this is just a bad organized demo script. We have in here when we click on the building, it's gonna just do the place building. We want to have another approach for that. So let's go ahead and create a new event. Now, because it's authoritative, we're gonna have to work with events or comments, depends on what you're using. In our case, we're gonna use events. Create a new event, call it building request. We need to take in here several things. So first of all, we need to take in here a position. Next one would be rotation. Then we need building prefab ID. Show a second what that is. And several other things like placed on and snap2. It's going to be an entity, and it's going to be a position. So after you've done all this, compile bolt. I have in here a little script which is an server script, which is an actual just a simple callback script which is only running on the server. And what we need to do now is just override this event. So on event bolt building request. So we have all this data we just created right now. We have building prefab ID, we have all those. But how we're gonna use this actually? So the reason we actually send the prefab ID is very simple. So let's go and take in here building prefab equals to. You see, we are initially taking here. We are at using here prefab database. I'm going to just do in here prefab db instance .get game object event .building prefab ID. So the building prefab ID is just actually the building prefab ID which you can get from the building component. So if I do in here, let's go and just prepare the event. Goes to build building request .create. So we need to have in here both the global target, only server. Reliability would be unreliable, and just set the event here. So event dot building prefab ID is going to be current building dot prefab ID. Event dot position is going to be current building dot transfer position. Position would again be current building dot transfer rotation. And then the next would just be event dot placed on be current building dot placed on, and event dot snap2 equals to current building snap2. That's very simple so far, right? It's not very complicated, just simple stuff of simple methods of just changing the demo script to our own needs. This in here is an actual entity. With the little check in here. The best way to fix this is you're gonna check in here to null. If yes, then null. If not, then dot placed on dot get component entity. Now, the reason I use in here, again, this check in here is that we want to make sure we aren't taking a component from a null variable. It's very important to avoid null references. Same in here, equals to null. If yes, then vector 3.0. Oops. If not, then let's go ahead and send in here current building .snap2.transfer.position. And we're gonna send the event. As simple as that. And then we wanna work in here. So we wanna make sure that building prefab is a null. And then we need to do all the other stuff we wanna do. So bolt entity building equals to bolt network to instantiate building prefab on event.position, event.rotation. The state would be I building state equals to building get state I building state. Let's assign the variables we got. So state dot placed on equals to event dot placed on. Now this is a little cool thing we need to do. Remember that I told you that if we're equal to the actual entity, then this means it's null. Now the reason we've done this again is because what bolt does is that if you assign a default value to the state variable, what's going to happen is that you are not going to receive the actual value. So let me show you an example. If we have, for example, the entity being null, it's not going to reassign this, so we're not going to be able to get the callback called. So the only way to handle this is get some kind of a way to identify if it's null or not by not using the default value. So what we're going to do in here is check if equals to null, then we're going to get equals to building. If not, if it's not equal to null, then we're going to go and take in here event dot building. Dot placed on. Sorry. Dot placed on. And then same for snap2. Snap2 is vector 3, and the null for us is basically vector 3.0. We don't want that. So event.snap2 equals to vector 3.0. If so, we're gonna send here a value that is never going to be met. So for example, something like 0 minus 999 and 0, something that's never gonna be met. And if it's not equal to null, then get this up. So as I said, we're gonna get those values, so we're gonna be able to actually get the value called. So yeah, we got this right now, and this should be it. So you're gonna see in here there are several things you're gonna see. When we build buildings, it's gonna destroy the old instance. The way to handle this is very simple. This actually shows us it works, and then just do in here destroy current building. This is because what we had before is that whenever we place the building would stay there, and we're gonna reinstantiate a new building. But right now it's just sent to the server, and we're not using it, so it's gonna stay there client sidely. Now if we try this again, oops, start save. And this works. Now we're gonna see that it's gonna stay there. It's gonna stay black, blue. Sorry, not black. after it's been placed. The reason for that is because there's a delay between when we instantiate the building and when we place it. So there's nothing we can do about it really as of the script of the building demo. There's some stuff we can do that, but it's really out of the scope of this tutorial. But yeah, this works. So let's go ahead and join with another client and make sure it all works properly. Visit our save real quick, and then we're going to show you if it all works properly. We're going to show you how to correctly handle the saves, which is also very easy. So sorry, let's give it a little second to build all it needs and start this up. Sorry, I'm back. So yeah, let's just test it. So you see, we're going to have a fresh scene here, place some buildings, connect with our client. As you can see, the buildings are here. They're actually here, and we can all actually overlap them, the positions of them. See it, all of the management we had before works. We can place new pillars. As you can see, we're gonna have a bug in here. Now, this is a very interesting bug. I'm gonna explain in a second why this happens as well. See on the other screen, this is actually being placed. Right, it's all being placed properly, and there's a bug in here. You can see the positions of our pillars are there, and the reason for them being there are because the actual, when they're being instantiated, they are instantiated on 0, 0, or their really initial position, and they are dragged into their actual position. But our rendering actually does it instantly, and that's why this is gonna be a bit delayed, and that way it's not gonna actually be staying here, but it's gonna be rendered on that position. But the actual building, as you can see, it's here. There's two ways to tackle this. One of the ways is to play with the teleport threshold of Bolt. And the second one is just gonna be to disable batching, which is not really an alternative. So we're gonna play in a second with the threshold. Not really bothering me right now. We're gonna do it later. But this is not really a uConstruct bug, just a thing with a teleport threshold. So it's really easy to fix just by playing the variables there. So let's go ahead and close this and work on the next networking thing, which is gonna be our saving. So yeah, we're back right now into code, and what we're gonna do now is to make sure that the saving and loading isn't called on the clients. We don't want the clients to instantiate locally their buildings, and we only want the server to do that. So the way to do that is really simple. Just gonna do uc saving manager enabled equals to bold network.eServer. So if we're a server, this is only going to be enabled when we're a server, basically. So this feature to disable saving, the saving manager, was only added on 1.01. So if you're using the current version, 1.0 on the asset store, this isn't going to be available for you. So if you're actually using the 1.0, make sure to email me and I'll with your Innovate's number and I will send you the newest version. But probably until the tutorial will be out, it's going to be 1.01 is going to be accepted. So don't worry. So we got this done. Now the next step would be probably to go into the saving manager and really doing all the things of making a network, but I'm not gonna go into there. It's really simple. It really is. All you need to do is just go into the building group, save data, and just messing with this and switching this into bold network and all those kind of things, and using and doing the things on the state. And I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm not gonna do that. But it's really simple. If you're not gonna be able to do it your own, just tell me and I'll make a tutorial on that as well. Or because it really just isn't relevant to this tutorial. So yeah, we're still gonna tackle the issue with buildings not appearing. This is gonna be very simple. The best way to tackle this, we're just gonna just decrease this to 1 or something, or even put this on 0. I don't really remember what number it should be on. I didn't use both for a long time, but I'm gonna try 0 on that. Check it in a second. If it's not gonna work, we're gonna try 1. I really don't remember. So yeah, so what we have next. Yeah, so after we do that, I guess that's gonna be really all. Maybe the next thing would be destruction. Destruction is just the same as saving. It's just calling an event in here when we destroy the building. Actually, no, here, sorry, yeah. When we destroy the building in here, it's just gonna be, instead of the building destroy, just calling an event. It's just really simple again. So nothing too amazing. It doesn't really worth including it here. But yeah, that's basically all of the tutorial. After we're gonna make sure it works. This would be all of the tutorial because this is really the basics that we have. Should the save? It's really all the tutorial. Let's see if it's fixed now. And now this should work. I mean, so far we've done quite a lot. We've made the building synchronized. We've made the building authoritative. I'm gonna actually show you how to go for a fully authoritative approach and do conditions checking to make sure the player isn't hacking. That's also gonna be something that we're gonna do. And yeah, we've done quite a lot. We've made the buildings networked. I've explained about the API bit. Got a saving tool and work on server. We've got some cool things in the integration right now. So let's just make sure it works. Hopefully it does. Building. Wait some pillars. Hopefully it's gonna work. Client. Let's see. There you go. It works. Try to build some buildings. There you go. It works. So yeah, it's still not that. Let's go ahead and change this to 1. That's probably gonna be it. So I fixed the issue. The issue is basically probably a bug with this version of Bolt. It doesn't really work with the teleport threshold correctly. So what you want to do is really disabling the smoothing algorithm, because honestly we're not going to do anything that really needs smoothing. The only thing we're going to do that actually moves the building would be collapse. But the thing is, even the collapse should be client-sided. If you can actually synchronize that as well, it should be client-sided. So there's no really need to have any smoothing algorithm. So that should be it. And now just to show you it works, let's go ahead and reset the save we have, as again we're not really synchronizing the save, so there's no really need to have the save activated, because it's going to just cause issues unless you want to switch it to Bolt network to instantiate and do all the state properties. But I don't really want to stretch the time of the video already, as it's very long. I guess I didn't really check. So let's go ahead and try this on the client. You're also going to notice that something first. You're going to notice that when I connect with another client, you're going to see that we have one second. We're going to see that we're going to have this thing in here duplicated. We're going to fix this as well, and then we're going to finish the tutorial with the last authoritative explanation. So as you can see, we can place stuff. It's going to show up normally as it should. As you can see, if I place pillars as normally, it's going to show. See, bam and bam, and you have all the pillars, right? It's really cool. And you can place more pillars if you want. I'm gonna go for this right now, but yeah, it's really cool. You can place wall, and it's all gonna really synchronize properly, so it's really cool. So yeah, now we finish this. Let's go to the next one. So after we have finished this little thing in here, we're gonna fix 2 more things, which is gonna be the UI thingy and the next one. So let's see. When we're actually doing this, we're doing update demo controls. Let's do it really easily by doing, let's fix this very easily by doing and I can do get component entity. We can actually do a variable in here to really not use all the entity all over again, but I just don't have much time in the video right now, so I just want to do it really quick. So let's control. This is gonna work on that right now. There you go. And yeah. So okay, so we got this done, right? We got everything done. Now I'm going to show you the authoritative approach I was talking about. So because of the well-made architecture we have for our for uConstruct, it is really easy to do authoritative checks. Now what I mean is, if I want to go ahead and take, for example, a building, sorry, not a building, Bolt building, for example, which is a building. Let's call it building script. Building.get component building script. Sorry about building. Get confused, sorry. We'll be able to do in here building script the check conditions. Now what you can do is, after we place the position of the building, we can check the conditions and make sure it's all really, you know, good, and it's actually possible to place in this position. So we can do all kind of checks and check. If it's not possible to place in this position, we're just going to destroy the building instantly. That's going to be one approach. There's really some kind of approach, really cool approaches there, and it's really cool, the architecture of uConstruct, and you're really open to do anything you want with API. There's literally no limitations, so it's really cool. And yeah, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you have any more questions or any more ideas, or if you wanted me to also make the saving networked and all these kind of things, I will do that as well. So yeah, I hope you understood how to use it with your own networking library now, and yeah, see ya.